Hi everyone. Yeah, I think we're starting. Okay. So I'm Marie Breyer, formerly partner at Serena Capital, and I'm really happy to introduce you to this amazing panel to discuss the stakes of scaling talent acquisition and retention in Europe. So on your left, we have Eric, CEO of Trezor. Trezor, it's let's say, it's a fintech company that is powering fintechs and big companies and big financial institutions all throughout Europe with clients such as Swile, Total Energy, and Conto. Next we have, we have Claire. Sorry, we have Claire Calmejean, who is CIO of Société Générale and in charge of all the innovation. Also the whole innovation division and leading the open innovation projects. And then we have Mike Berry, who is in charge of the whole HR at AWS for Europe. And we are all these different companies here. So Trezor is 150 people, if I'm right, or close to 200. So European scale-up with people in mostly in France, but also from more than a dozen nationalities. And Société Générale, another really big company, but with many different challenges. And then Amazon, of 1 million employees all around the globe.
1.4.
1.4, okay, I'm close. And also different challenges. So maybe I want to start with Eric. What do you think are the biggest challenges that scale-ups are facing when they want to develop in Europe in terms of talent acquisition?
It's a difficult question, but I will try to summarize how at Trezor we have overcome, we are trying to overcome the point. So first of all, 5 years ago we had 2 people. And this year is our 5th anniversary, and we are almost 200 people, as you said. And yes, it is a challenge to keep our DNA intact and to keep our value as well intact. We just talked about in the previous panel as well. And also to keep our strategy very clear. And so with 2 people, when we start with my co-founder Xavier 5 years ago, in a very old garage, we decided from scratch, let's create a bank. So now we are 200, and the idea is how can we make our employees involved, to be considered, and also to be a source of proposal even. And so to create really to keep our DNA. So we work on 3 axes, and it was very important to work on it. So having a clear strategy, why Trezor exists, why Trezor still exists. It is very first point, you have to be clear. The second one is, what are our value and what we would not, would say, forget at Trezor. And the third one is, how could we execute the strategy? Taking into account our vision, taking into account our value. And today, the idea is you should ask to one of the employees of Trezor, whatever, and he should be able to answer these 3 questions and be involved and see how on the daily work he could be involved by keeping the value, executing the strategy, and understand very well that what he is doing makes a lot of sense for the vision. So it's very important. So now we are in Europe, and we have the pleasure to work in a very dynamic industry with many challenges. And Europe, it's very great. So, but we are not standardized in Europe. So even regulators are not standardized. We have to cope with multicultural. So you are not making business in France and in Germany in the same way. Even the industry change. So everything is changed. So you have to cope with that, and also the culture. So the idea is really to summarize all these challenges and to keep an eye on everything. And granted, it's a full-time job, I guess. And the very last perhaps comment I can, it's very important for us as founders, and we are very pleased when we are looking at a small team at Treasure, be involved, propose things as if they have created Treasure. This is really, we are very satisfied on this. And the last but not the least challenge we have, now we are associated with Société Générale, and being associated with a tier 1 group is also another challenge, but also an opportunity.
I think it's really interesting because some people might have answered, okay, the key is to hire tons of talent acquisition managers or to spend extra money on headhunters. And I really like that you're centering your answer towards really making clear what your values are and where your culture stands and where everyone's role is and what it is, and making that clear to them. I really think that that's what, especially the younger talents, maybe it's more important to them. I don't. Maybe you wanted to share something about
Sure.
that.
I mean, you know, we spoke about it, but really what we are seeing in terms of challenge around the young talents. I was 10 days ago talking to my school, and you know, just 2 seconds here, and more than half of the question were all about ESG, digital. What is the impact? And that's a little bit what Eric is saying around how the ethos of your company is living. But I often say, you know, today ESG is just the new digital. It has replaced most of the preoccupation, at least of the junior talent. In the SG Venture portfolio, we have Trezor, but we also have 2 B Corp companies, Lumo and Shine. And it's super interesting how they are completely driven through their culture, through their ethos, and also their requirements. Because, you know, as an investor, they're asking me more and more, okay, to meet the criteria of B Corp, I need to, you know, fulfill all these criteria, which are a stretch for a large company like us. And we need to go in this journey because we want them to develop, and we truly believe, you know, innovation and ESG are at the heart of tomorrow's business model. So we are seeing, you know, these new challenges which is coming, which is, it's not enough to offer good services of Amazon Web Services console, or like, you know, train people on GCP and, you know, having the coolest tech environment and coolest tools. It's not enough. You know, now people are really looking around, you know, what is the mission? What is your mission statement, and what do we do? And it's true in startups. It's also true in Société Générale. And we even put innovation and ESG at the heart of the mission statement last year to set this direction. I guess sometimes it's a little bit more easy in a startup than in big corporate, but you know, it's another journey.
So that's a good segue to maybe the second question that I will direct to Mike. So Amazon is now such a big company. Of course, you're acquiring a lot of talent, but maybe can you share with us some of your secrets around the best practices of Amazon to retain talent and to get them to stay and to thrive in your company?
Sure. In fact, it's an honor to be here with such great leaders in the technology space in France. And what I will tell you is Amazon too started in a garage. And yes, we're now 1.4 million people around the world, and we added a huge number of teams in the last 12 months. But in many respects, what you're describing in terms of why people join is very similar for us as it is for you. So for me, it's probably 3 key things. One is culture, the second is who your colleagues are, and the third is the customer. And so for us, we think a lot about our culture, and we're proud to say we describe ourselves as having a peculiar culture. It is very distinct to Amazon, but there's lots of traits, I think, in terms of the secrets I can share, that I think can apply in many situations. So for us, the first thing we have is we've defined a set of what we call leadership principles. And those are kind of guiding principles for us about how we think about hard issues and how we make decisions. And as we talk about those leadership principles, we make them part of the rhythm of the workday. And so whether it's how we hire, it's what decisions we make in terms of investments, how we think about customer problems are all using our leadership principles. Some of them you know, so things like we are customer obsessed as a company, so that's one of our leadership principles. We think about how to think big and invent and simplify. So we believe if you think small, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you always stretch and imagine when you say 2 people, we're going to be a bank, that's thinking big, right? So that's, we deploy those leadership principles, we talked about them all the time. They're written down so everybody understands them, and we use them as part of the rhythm of work. The second piece then is colleagues. And so what we attract are people who like to build. So we say to people, come here if you want to build something, if you want to innovate on behalf of customers. And we find that that attracts a certain style of employee. And when you make good decisions about who comes in with that perspective, what you find then you've got peers and colleagues who share that same aspiration to build on behalf of a customer. And then obviously the customer part is so important for us at AWS and Amazon. And so we talk a lot about how do we work backwards from the needs of the customer. We try to truly understand what it is the customer is trying to achieve. And when you give a challenge like that to a team, that's inspiring to them, that they're solving hard problems. Often, first time an organization might be tackling an issue like that. So the sense of innovation and building for us is what brings people to us and keeps people engaged in the organization.
Would you say that in a smaller company, the stakes are the same?
I would say similar, indeed. But I love that, and what is very interesting is, even though you are scaling, if you success on your scale, you keep your DNA, you keep your culture, and as you said, it's key. It's key. And what I like to say also, it's, for example, at Treasure, we are extending in Europe. So we hire people from Germany, Italy, Spain, etc. So now we are not a French company at all, actually. We are a European company, and I love saying that, but I think those who are not French like that as well, but I love saying we are not French company anymore. The Germans are involved, as you said, and are completely considered as proposal and source of proposal, and also they are involved in the strategy as well. And as I said, the German market is not the same than in France, so we should really and definitively consider others as also a matter of scale. And I love saying that the more culture you are, the more performance you'd have. So up to you to take it in consideration, but to me it's key. So we are facing similar challenges, even though we are smaller and really a small company, but we need to face and to overcome these challenges. Otherwise, we will not be able to scale.
It seems simple enough, what you both guys said. Okay, hire hardworking, with a high work ethic, talented people who want to build stuff, and give them enough food so that they never, get bored. And so, but I think what makes you similar is that it shows that both of your organization and your three organizations actually put the people first, and because if their goals are clear and if they're given the resources they need to do their goals, then it's because maybe you have put in place, given them enough freedom, enough knowledge, enough resources so that they can achieve them and they feel important, and you've split the work well enough so that everyone can do what they have to. I think it's not easy for all organizations necessarily to be that great at managing their workforce. Maybe, what do you think? Was it like something in your culture that made you decide, especially for Eric, made you decide to care for the way your company is managed first? Was it like a decision, or did it came like after some errors, some mistakes? Or
yes, to be clear, to me, you must make errors and mistakes and acknowledge it, because otherwise. This is not in line with what we are doing. So we are making mistakes, but the thing is, we are not, I would say, too proud, or we need to admit the mistake and to I would say overcome the mistake, take it into account, and move ahead without any kind of emotion. I make mistakes every day. And yes, the way we are managing and the way we are, and even for co-founder, at a certain times you need to understand that others are also inspiring. You understand? So they can be involved and propose things that make value, make sense, etc., etc. So indeed, you need to.
The culture is driven by you primarily, as an example, and not maybe primarily, but initially. And
yes, but it shouldn't be the case. It should work as a team, and this is the definition to me of the scaling: is to allow the team to be part of the project and be involved in the project. So as soon as you are succeeding, if you success to do so, it will be really a very nice thing for the company.
And so, I cannot, because I had looked at in a different lens at Trezor, but I think another way to also put the lens on what Eric is saying is diversity at one point become paramount to really your scale. And Eric mentioned on top of that the challenge to realize the vision of Trezor, to be the fintech of fintech, but to be much more, to serve, on payment, on card hub, on, all the proposition we can have, and to be the bank in a box for everyone. It required also to blend with, some traditional skill sets that we have in Société Générale. And with Eric, we always look, half of the management team of Eric are actually a background of Société Générale, and some of them have lived quite a long time in Société Générale. I think your CEO has been 20 years, the head of back office of payments. And I can tell you, she have completely blended into the Trezor culture. She brought all the innovation lens of Société Générale and blended into that. And we have a very close look on how do we realize our mission statements and who are the talents that are going to bring us there. And these talents have no frontier, no boundaries, and diversity is super important because here we are talking about diversity of background, the startup versus a big corporate, but also, we pay attention in diversity of recruitment around gender, international, background, minorities. Eric was talking about, how we recruited the German team, how do we make space for them, but also, looking for tech talents, in the gender, how do we partner with 15 Tech to try to find, the best talent, the best development. So I think around diversity and how do you change this mindset, because when you are scaling and it's high growth, I guess, we have the chance to speak together around that. But it does require to go the little extra mile, but I believe in the long term it's really paying off.
One thing I'd add is as you grow, you have to think about how do you maintain your culture. And so many times people often say, I want to preserve the culture, the startup sense, that scrappiness perhaps that got us going, and that sense of intimacy. I will argue you can't preserve a culture, but you can cultivate a culture. You can help it grow over time. You have to decide what is core to your values and your beliefs and your priorities. And then how you organize yourself determines whether this culture scales with you. So one of the things we get terrified about at AWS is that we get so large as that we either get out of touch with our customers or that there's too many layers in the decision-making process. So for us, one of the things we hold true, regardless of our size, regardless of where we are in the world, is we organize ourselves in what we call 2 pizza teams. And so we organize a team so it is no bigger than can be fed by 2 pizzas at dinner time. And so that allows for a small enough group, but big enough that you can have multidisciplinary perspective, lots of diversity of thought, but you can still have very rapid communication and decision making. And we ask that 2 pizza team to own an issue or a product or a customer relationship end to end. So they can make decisions within the team and not depend on waiting for a phone call from the US or something like that to make the good decision for a customer. So how you organize and to stay nimble, even at scale, matters. And for us, when you have those leadership principles or that set of values and some what we call operating mechanisms to repeat that at scale, it means lots of people all across your organization can all innovate at the same time, and they're not waiting for each other to make decisions.
Thank you. And Claire, maybe one last question, because we have a little bit of time. How, in such a large organization such as Société Générale, how do you, when you take really strong cultural commitment, such as diversity, like you, and such as really strong commitment to ESG principles, How do you monitor that it's spreading throughout the organization the way you want to, and how do you make people who maybe initially did not adhere to such principles?
I often say in culture there is no silver bullet. I think, you know, especially as we are undertaking digital transformation, digital transition, and ecological transition, there is no silver bullet about how these transitions are performed. But my observation is, being a large group, and I've led several teams in different organizations, or being a startup, you know, generally you follow kind of the same process. Marie asked me, like, can you give kind of the toolbox? But I will just repeat some of the example Mike and Eric have said with their own words. But the first one for me is you start by the mission statement. At the top, you need to be clear, and you need to be clear about what I want to achieve in 6 months, in 18 months, and in the long run. Be clear about each of these steps and each of these vision. And then you work with the team, you know, all the team, you coach them at the same time on the ground to make sure they really understand what are we trying to achieve, and you decline them in outcome-based management through OKR, through any method you want, but you know, you make them accountable that any person in the company, they can really take responsibility and move one step forward. And that's, you know, how do you push your mission statement, your vision, closer to the team, closer to the persons that are close to the clients, that really understand the client needs, that will be bringing you back, here is my problem, here is what I need to change in order to move forward. The third part, when you've done the outcome-based management part, is really around, you know, the values, you know, and values, super interesting. You know, again and again, I've repeated this mechanism, mission statement, outcome-based management. Values, for me, it's a job that needs to be defined by the teams. It's something that you cannot do by yourself. And when you're a small company, it's something that will evolve. A big company as well, we've made evolution of our values in SocGen about 2 years ago. And no doubt that with the ESG agenda, they will probably evolve again because we have different intensity. Values are aspirational. They are not a reality of what your company have. They are some things that you want to be. And of course, we are not good in everything. And companies are not good in everything. But these values live through the team. And you need to have rituals in order to make them live, you know, checkpoints, you know, retrospective, you know, put the team in charge with the culture.
Can you give us maybe examples of rituals that
you
find really meaningful?
You know, there is for us, we have a culture meeting and retrospective, so they meet once a month and they review the processes of the team, saying like, okay, we had meetings, we have temperature checks and pulse survey, and they analyze the data and they say, okay, you know, we had 10 meetings, it was really bad, we're going to kill them or we're going to transform this process. And they don't try to change everything at the same time. It's a continuous improvement. It's the value of learning of your organization to set the organization in motion, which is super important. And the last part, obviously, is to coach your managers. So that's one of the key challenges when your startup is growing or when your organization is growing and going through these transitions. They have to learn to be coaches, to embrace a different position in the way they are managing. And you know, it's a long process, but when you get these 5 things right, generally, you know, like your culture is set, and you know, maybe you will be lucky enough to be Amazon and seeing the stories, even if the 2 pizza team need to change a little bit because it's been some time.
The one other thing I would add, and I spend a lot of time talking to founders and to leaders in companies around the region, and that's, there has to be an authenticity about your culture and your behavior. And so for us, we think of it as a flywheel. If you state your culture and you be really clear on what you believe in, then you have to live it. And so for us, we live it through the hiring decisions we make, the investment decisions we make, how we solve problems for customers. And to be honest with you, I've sat in talent reviews and leadership meetings where somebody has come up for promotion, for example, and we assess people as leaders in AWS and Amazon in how they embody the sense of the importance of the leadership principles and the culture of the company. So I've seen people who can hit their number and do a great job in terms of financial performance not be promoted because they may be divisive, difficult, hard to collaborate with. So, but if we made an opposite decision, if we promoted somebody who caused chaos but still hit the number, then you're violating your culture, and then people say, it's not for real. So you have to make decisions and honor your culture and honor what your mission needs to be, even if sometimes it means you make a short run a trade-off because you know you want to preserve culture. So one of the things, in talking to a lot of the venture capital firms in recent times, the sense that having an investment in deciding what you want to stand for, what your mission is, what you believe in, and how you'll operationalize that is time well spent, because as you scale and grow, you want the people who maybe are 2-3 levels away from you or a different country away from you, all to understand what it means to live that culture. And if you haven't been clear, if you're not explicit, they'll interpret it and they may get it wrong, and then you'll have a splintered environment.
Well, thank you. Do you want maybe also?
So, what can I say? So just I couldn't agree more. First, and what we shouldn't forget is that tomorrow will not be the same than today. So as you said, culture is evolving constantly, and so as the society is evolving as well. So you need to make a lot of sense of what you are doing and why you are existing and what you are believing in, as you said. So I couldn't agree more with the point. And never forget that things are changing, evolving, and we should reassess constantly who we are and what we want to achieve and what we want to do.
Excellent.
Thank you, all of you three, for your delightful explanations of how to maintain your culture and to attract talent based on your culture and your commitment to it. For the members of the audience who want to hear more about great companies who have specific cultures and a great way to attract talents, we have the Talent Show Awards who are at the closing ceremony at 6. And we'd be happy to have you also. I think it's on the same stage. Yeah, that's right. So here at 6, if you want to hear more about talent in Europe. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.